When Richard Cargom came back to Britain after the Second World War, it was to these streets in Bermondsey, East London, that he returned. He was one of the first soldiers into Belsen concentration camp, and that experience made him think about how Britain might function after the war. Given his background, people expected Cargom to go into the law or the city, but instead he signed up as a voluntary home help in Bermondsey. Looking after the old people in what seemed like a tight-knit community, he was amazed by the amount of loneliness that he discovered all around.
And it was right here on Eugenia Road that Abbeyfield started. The road looks a lot different than it did in 1956, but Richard Cargom bought number 50 Eugenia Road and invited some of the local residents to come and share their life together. Richard Cargom bought a second house in Eugenia Road, but within a year the idea was going so well that he cashed in some securities and bought the third house right here at number 36 Gom Road. And you'll see on the blue plaque that it describes Richard Cargom as a social reformer. And his idea was not just to provide a great life for the residents of this house, but to change attitudes more widely. And I thought it might be interesting to read some words from 1957, which said Richard's plan was to educate the social awareness of his neighbours. They must be made to notice the problem of old age and encouraged to do something about it. For this reason, houses have been bought where possible in the middle of a row so that neighbours cannot help noticing as they pass by. The housekeeper does her shopping in the local store, slowly gets to know people in the same street. Neighbours are asked to tea parties and sing-alongs and encouraged to come and lend a hand. And in that way, the attitudes, not just for the residents and those people that helped, but for the neighbours in this street and many more streets, and in the end across the UK and across the world, would slowly change just from the purchase of these houses. What we know is that although loneliness was a big issue amongst the older population in the 1950s, it's an even bigger issue for us today, not just in the UK, but right across the developed world. But the values that Richard Cargom espoused and the solutions he provided to that challenge of loneliness are just as relevant today as they were in 1956. And we all know loneliness is an even bigger problem now and in the future than it was then. But as human beings, we all need other people. We need shelter, we need food, but we need a sense of purpose and a sense of living as part of a wider community, not just on our own. And as we look into the future, the ways of delivering those solutions will be different, I'm sure, but the underlying principles and the core values of Abbeyfield will absolutely remain the same. I said that Abbeyfield always feel like an Abbeyfield, whatever size or shape they are, but the Abbeyfield Deptford Society, which started in 1962, is here in the same building, and as you'll see, still going strong today in 2019. Hello there. Hi, I'm David.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. So I'm guessing you must be Sheila.
Yeah, I am.
Richard Cargom's work in Bermondsey got the attention of the local press, of course, but it also started to get attention in the national press. And in late 1956, Richard Cargom talked about receiving what he called a fan letter from someone in New York who'd read about his work in an English paper.
This is Anne's room.
Ah, okay. Oh, it's a nice, light, bright room, isn't it?
Yeah, she's very nice lady.
By various means, over the next few years, his thoughts and visions for how to help those who were lonely spread across the world, and Abbeyfield sprung up not only in the UK, but Australia, New Zealand, Belgium, Canada, Jersey, South Africa, and right up to the current day where we've just opened an Abbeyfield in Poland and are talking to people in Malawi about what Abbeyfield might do for older people in that country in Africa. Almost every Abbeyfield I go to, as soon as I start talking to the residents and say, you know, what do you like about it? The first thing's got to be the food's wonderful here. So I was like, yep, the food's good. Okay, that's it. That's a great start.
Yeah.
And the people are lovely and look after us really well.
Yeah,
You know.
and I'll get to know what they like.
And in my short time with the Abbeyfield family, I've been really struck by the fact that visiting lots of houses and homes, both in the UK and abroad, it doesn't matter what size or shape or colour those homes and houses are, there's something absolutely essentially Abbeyfield about each of them. The warmth of the welcome you get, the care for the residents, and that sense that it doesn't matter what part of the world you're in, you can somehow feel that this is an Abbeyfield.
Great. Thanks a lot. Well, that's been a really great little mini Abbeyfield journey for me. It's so nice to go back to Richard Cargom's original street and one of his original houses. And it's really stood out for me today that those values that he espoused in 1956 are working absolutely today here in 2019. We've heard lots of great stories about local people being scooped up, brought into the Abbeyfield family, taken care of and maintaining their place in their local community. And for me, that's what Abbeyfield's all about. You know, those of us who are lucky enough to work and volunteer in charities like Abbeyfield take something that our founders passed on. We try and make it better, we try and improve it for whatever age we're living in, and then we try and pass it on to the next generation in an even better state than we found it. So it's been a pleasure to do this today. I really hope you enjoyed this little journey. And as we start to set out the strategy for the future, I hope you'll join me in a few more of these films as well. So thanks a lot.